Hi everyone, it's Rax. Another season is on the way, which means another class tier list video is here to help you decide what class you might want to go with for season 23. There were a lot of changes. We lost the seasonal buff, which was the 4th cube slot. We're going to see how that impacts everything, along with a lot of new changes. And there's changes on the horizon for the Rathma set and also the Firebirds Wizard. How will that move everything around? We're about to find out right now. Before we jump into everything, in case you haven't seen this video before in previous seasons, everything in this video is my opinion and the opinion of the 500 people who hung out with me on my stream today for almost 6 hours to make sure we got everything as accurate as possible. Big shout out to all of them. You're encouraged to have your own opinion. If you disagree on something, feel free to start a conversation in the comments and we can work through it. Some of these decisions are very, very close and can be swapped around. All of the classes are going to be ranked first, which is the best, to 7th on all of the following things in Season 23. Speed is the ability to farm T16 rifts, bounties, and low-level GRs. Low-level GRs would be leveling up your gems and getting your augments and just getting XP. Solo pushing is the ability and the quality of life in playing and pushing the solo leaderboards. It's not just a list of whoever can clear the top GR level. If you wanted to look at that, you could just open up the leaderboards. This is also about the quality of life, how easy it is to get the gear, and how easy it is to play. And by the way, last season in Season 22, every single class cleared a 150, which is the highest level. In groups, it's how desirable this class is to have in groups and what role that they fill. Are they a support? Do they clear the trash? Are they a Rift Guardian killer? The more roles that they have and the more important those roles are, the higher their ranking will be in groups. Support is self-explanatory. How well does the class support in group play? And the casual ranking relies very heavily on what is your Hadrig's gift, which is the free set that you get for starting off your seasonal journey. If you get a very, very good set, it's going to really help you. If you get a really bad set, it's going to hurt you. Another thing that's taken into consideration is if you get your starting set and let's say it's a bad one, how quickly can you farm your way into a very good set so your quality of life goes up? And we're usually measuring this at less than 5 hours per week. So if you're not dedicating your life to the game, what class is going to give you the most bang for your buck? We're going to summarize all of that and give you an overall ranking for what we feel are the best classes in Season 23. And then for all the classes, we're going to tell you what the best builds are and give a Season 24 request for Blizzard. New to this season's tier list, let's talk about all the changes in the patch notes and from the previous season so we can understand what's moving the numbers up and down. First of all, we lose the 4th cube slot and the shadow clones from the previous season. The 4th cube slot is going to hurt every single class because you just lose a legendary power, especially Necromancer builds who usually cubed a big weapon multiplier. And losing the shadow clones is going to make leveling harder, and it's going to make low-level GRs harder, and it's going to make the challenge rifts harder. So we've lost all of that. It hurts all of the classes. Followers have been reworked to be able to equip all of the same items that you wear. They also have buffed skills, and they now emanate certain legendary powers, which means when you give them a legendary or a set, they could potentially give you that power by wearing it themselves. This is going to improve all classes, especially in T16 farming keys. It's going to be incredible, and for bounties. The things for greater rifts, most notably, is they are going to emanate Flavor of Time, which doubles the duration of all pylons, and Nemesis Bracers, which means when you click a pylon, you get an elite, and there's a lot of synergy there. This is really going to buff solo builds, especially if you weren't already using Flavor of Time and Nemesis Bracers. For the full list of powers of what work, check the patch notes link down below, and you'll be able to see what all you will be getting from your followers. There are new leaderboards. There's going to be a new leaderboard for every single 6-piece set for all the classes. That way you can push with whatever set is your favorite and see yourself on the leaderboards. It's a fun feature, but it has no change in power in this particular tier list. Firebirds has been reworked, and currently it's insanely strong in the second round of the PTR. Blizzard is likely going to apply some nerfs, and it will likely go live or get the patch notes right before the season is out. More on that in a second and how that is going to impact this tier list. Rathma has been reworked. It has two pieces. It has Army of the Dead and it has Bone Spirit. The Army of the Dead section currently has been kind of nerfed into the ground, and the Bone Spirit section is performing pretty well. It's doing okay on the solo boards, and it potentially could be a very good Rift Guardian killer. So we'll see what the final place for Rathma is when the season goes live. Hungering Arrow was nerfed, which sent shivers down every single God Demon Hunter player's spines, because the God DH was by far the Demon Hunter's best build. It will be knocked down many tiers in solo. It will still probably be the best solo pushing build for Demon Hunters, as Blizzard has reverted some of the nerf, but it's still going to be incredible for farming, as we will find out here in a second. And finally, Gazing Demise, the offhand from the Munda Nugu Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor, has been nerfed, and that's going to bring down the Witch Doctor's best build significantly. A quick disclaimer before we go forward. Currently, in the second round of the PTR, the Firebird's Wizard is dominating. It's dominating at practically everything. It's doing 150 solo. It's even trash clearing. It's an insane RGK. It's absolutely incredible. Everything that we're going to go forward with is going to assume that before the season goes live, that Blizzard will implement a reasonable nerf to Firebird's Wizard. If they leave it exactly as it is, Firebirds is going to win at absolutely everything. If they give it a reasonable nerf, it will be what you see in this tier list. And if they nerf it into the ground, it still will be close to what you see in this tier list. We're not going to bank on Firebirds just carrying Wizards to victory like it currently is on the PTR. One thing that I get asked sometimes is, Rax, why do you release this tier list on the second round of the PTR rather than when you get the final patch notes? Well, the reason is we usually don't get the final patch notes until right before the season is out, and people want to decide what they're going to play a long time before then. Usually you can get it about 95% right if you wait until the second round of the PTR, because we've seen the patch notes, we've tested it for a week, Blizzard has gathered the feedback, Blizzard has made changes, and now they're gathering more feedback to make one final change. We think that Firebirds will receive some kind of a nerf, so that's what we're going to bank on going forward. Coming in last place, we have the Witch Doctor, and there isn't a single good thing I can say to all the Witch Doctor players out there. I feel very bad for you. For speeds, they're in dead last. Their only real speed build for T16 and low-level GRs was Spirit Barrage. Yes, of course, you could also use the Chicken, and the Chicken is very fast and fun, but Spirit Barrage was the better build, and it's just getting nerfed from the Gazing Demise nerf, and it already wasn't really competing with some of the other builds. That's going to put them in dead last. For solo pushing, they do have some potential to scale with a very, very amazing Rift, but again, they just got nerfed with the Gazing Demise, and Witch Doctor was already very hard to play in solo push. Takes a ton of skill to play this spec, and we cannot expect them to do very well compared to the other classes. In groups, they lost essentially the only role that they had with the Spirit Barrage Gazing Demise nerf. They could have very well been the best trash clearer for Season 23 until that nerf came, and now it looks like it's going to be potentially the Bone Spear Necromancer again. So other than that, they don't have any role in any XP meta. They don't have any role in the high meta. They're really not desired in groups for anything. Going along with that, Support Witch Doctor was good a million seasons ago, but Support Witch Doctor has been completely irrelevant for a while, so that's not needed for anything either. Unfortunately, also for casuals, it's not good news. You're going to start with the Helltooth set, which is alright, but you're going to have to use that to farm to transition into Spirit Barrage, which again is not the greatest speed build compared to other classes to gather all the stuff that you need. It's just a very, very low quality of life, and it's just not going to get it done for you. Put all that together, and overall, the Witch Doctor has dropped to last again, where it has spent a lot of seasons down there. So it really, really needs help. I feel very bad for the Witch Doctor players. Unfortunately, really, still the best build for you is Spirit Barrage, even though it was nerfed. So that's not good. For Season 24, we need a medic. We need a medic for Witch Doctor, and we're going to need some help for some of the sets to make it viable again. Coming in 6th place, we have the Crusader, which is actually a pretty powerful class. Really, as long as you aren't playing a Witch Doctor, every class going forward here is going to be good at something. In speeds, they're in 5th place, but really running around with the Pony and the Fist of the Heavens or Heaven's Fury, whatever you want to do, is actually pretty good. It's pretty good at T16. It's pretty good at solo XP farming. The 5 might look kind of bad, but it's really not bad. For solo push, we have them in 2nd place, but they're going to clear 150, whether it's with the Bombardment spec or with the Heaven's Fury spec. Both of them should clear 150, and it's going to do extremely well. For groups, the only thing that they can do is RGK, but if the Firebird's Wizard receives a quote-unquote reasonable nerf, it could very well still be the best RGK ahead of Firebirds and ahead of the Bone Spirit Necromancer, at least for consistency. So, as long as they have their spot as the RGK, they will be invited to groups. Support Crusader is not a thing. Nobody uses that. Nobody really ever has. So they're still dead last in that category. And for casuals, they're not too bad. You'll start with Rollins. You can use that to farm for the Fist of the Heavens set or the Heaven's Fury set and then move into the speeds, and it won't be too bad. Put all that together, and overall, they end up 6th. But again, there is a huge gap between the 6 classes ahead of Witch Doctor and, Witch Doctor. So it's in 6th, but don't let that fool you. Crusaders are still pretty good. In Season 23, the best builds are Fist of the Heavens, Bombardment, and Heaven's Fury. And for Season 24, I think we need to buff Blessed Hammer so we can practice for Diablo 2 Remastered. Coming in 5th place is the Monk, which is surprising because the Monk is a very, very good all-around character, so don't let the ranking of 5 fool you. If you want to play the Monk, it's going to be very, very good. For speeds, we're actually, for the first time, going to knock it out of 1st and make it in 2nd place, and that's for a few reasons. First of all, the God DH is getting a little bit of a buff for the speed content in that it's going to get 5,000% extra damage on its 6-piece multiplier, and it's going to lose the pierces, but in speed content, that doesn't really matter. Combine that with the fact that the Cane set is going to be emanated from the follower. The reason why the Monk was so good is not only could it dash around and destroy everything, but it also could wear canes or swap to it quite easily. Now the Demon Hunter just gets it for free, and it's just literally spinning around, one-shotting everything. So the speed and the quality of life is probably going to give the rank 1 spot to the Demon Hunter instead of the Monk. But, of course, don't sleep on the Monk. If you put together a fully powered Monk and you really know what you're doing, it's still going to absolutely destroy. For solo push, it's essentially the same story. The only reason it's dropping is because some other classes are moving up. It's still going to be the Sun Wuku Tempest Rush and the Patterns of Justice Tempest Rush that we all know and love. And the good news is we don't have to play with Shenlongs this season. For groups, they're dropping all the way to 6th. The reason why they were so high in groups for so long is because the Z-Monk was one of the best supports to keep everybody alive. But now with the new ZDH, the new support Demon Hunter, everyone takes that instead for the massive damage increase and just tells everybody to stay alive. And so the Monk has essentially been benched and doesn't really have another group build besides their support build. For that reason, they're dropping pretty much to the bottom of the totem pole in groups. In supports, they still have one of the best supports. It's just a matter of when people need healing or not, and lately it hasn't been very often. For casuals, it won't be too bad. For the Monk, you're going to start with one of the worst sets, Raiment. You can use that to quickly farm Sun Wuku or Patterns of Justice, and then you'll be flying. Put all that together, and Monk is going to drop 2 spots to 5th, but don't worry, the Monk will still be quite powerful. They still have Tempest Rush and Wave of Light and the Z-Monk as their best builds. And for Season 24, I would love for them to fix Shenlongs. Any Monk player who has played it is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And even though there won't be a lot of builds that use Shenlongs this season, I'm sure it'll come up again in the future, and we would love for it to work properly. Coming in fourth place is the Wizard, which at the moment is a little bit of a moving target. We're in the second round of the PTR right now, and currently the Firebird's Wizard is insanely strong. We're expecting a quote-unquote reasonable nerf to happen to bring it back down to planet Earth. If that reasonable nerf happens, we expect the numbers to be roughly what you see on the screen. And if not, well, you can just change everything to essentially first place for everything, as Wizard is just going to light the world on fire. For speeds, Wizards are moving up mostly because the Spirit Barrage Witch Doctor got nerfed and it went down. The Firebird's Wizard is very good at many different things, but it shouldn't be any better at T16 than like Chantoto Veer's was, because you have to hit two enemies with two different skills to kill them, so even the infinite teleports might not be enough. Anyway, they're going to be just fine at the speed content, and they're moving up. For solo pushing, Wizards will do very well, even if Firebirds gets nerfed. Twister is going to clear at least into the upper 140s. It's not impossible, it might clear 150. And of course, if Firebirds gets released anywhere near the level it is, it will also do 150 for the Wizard. In groups, Wizard stock is moving up because, again, Firebirds gives them a place not only in the XP meta dealing damage, but it's also one of the best Rift Guardian killers currently. For supports, Wizard support is alright, it's not bad, but essentially, if you aren't a Demon Hunter, Barb, Monk, or Necro, you're never going to bring your support, so unfortunately, Wizard support is not really a thing. For casuals, you'll start with Talrasha, which is not too bad for getting started. You can use that to get your Firebird set or your Chantoto Veer set and just start dominating. It's not too bad at all. Overall, that moves Wizard up to the fourth spot. They usually spend a lot of their time at the bottom of the tier list season after season, so it's great to see them finally getting some love. The best builds for Season 23 are Firebirds, Chantoto Veers, Twister, and Frozenor. And for Season 24, I would love for them to look at the Talrasha set and give that a buff. Coming in third, and maybe a lot of you would not have guessed this, is the Demon Hunter. Everyone was outraged by the God nerf, and Blizzard has reverted some of it back. But in reverting some of it back and giving the 5,000% extra damage to the 6-piece and just changing the quiver and the number of pierces, it's actually going to make their speed farming quite good at the cost of their solo pushing. So for speeds, for this reason, and because the follower emanation is going to give them the Kane set that they were missing, the God DH is practically the best you can possibly get for speeds. It's a spin to win build. It can essentially one-shot everything, and now you've got all the bells and whistles that classes like the Monk previously had. For solo push, Demon Hunters may fall all the way to last. Their God DH build was by far the best, and it had the highest ceiling, not only because it was the strongest build, but also because it had an interaction with missile dampening elites that allowed it to clear many, many tiers higher than it was supposed to do, which has since been fixed. So the God DH is going to be more in line with the other Demon Hunter builds for solo pushing, which is unfortunately is going to put it in last place. But for groups, Demon Hunter is still going to be quite good because the support Demon Hunter is really on the rise. The amount of extra damage that they give to so many different builds have made them a top choice for groups, and so you can play with your friends happily as the Demon Hunter. Same thing goes for support. That's why they're invited to groups. Impale RGK can kind of do some work, but there are too many other good RGKs currently in the game for them to allow them to do that. And Demon Hunters can't trash clear either because, well, their best trash clearing build just got nerfed, especially the AoE from it. And there are other builds like the Bone Spear Necromancer that are just going to take that spot. But the support Demon Hunter is definitely carrying with the new Odyssey's End that was released a couple of seasons ago, which makes them one of the best supports in the game. For casuals, we're bringing them down just one spot to the second spot, and it was a very tough decision between them and the Whirlwind Barb, but both of them have amazing starts. For Demon Hunter, you'll start with Unhallowed Essence, which is the multi-shot build, which is a fan favorite, and you'll be able to mow everything down very easily. And if you want to, you can transition into the God DH, which is going to be just as fast, if not faster. Put all that together, and actually, other than solo pushing, Demon Hunters are still absolutely amazing at just about everything. So unless you're going for the top tier leaderboards on God DH, don't be too upset about the nerf. The best builds for Season 23 are God, Multi-Shot, Impale, and Rapid Fire. And for Season 24, we really need a build that Demon Hunters can play in groups that isn't the support build, because that's what's carrying them and getting them invited right now. Coming in second place is the Necromancer, which really surprised me. Going through everything, I thought the Necromancer would fall tremendously from losing the 4th cube slot, but nope, it turns out the Necromancers are still destroying. For speed content, it's still the same. We still have the Rat Necro, and it can still fly through everything. And the Bone Spear Necromancer, even with losing the 4th cube slot and losing that massive multiplier, is going to make up some of that with the follower, and it's just such a good build. It's still going to be one of the best, so they're going to land in 4th. For solo push, believe it or not, they're probably still going to get first. There are over 1,000 worldwide clears with the Bone Spear Necromancer right now. And even after losing that gigantic multiplier, the Bone Spear Necromancer is still going to dominate. It's still going to clear 150, unless they nerf it with absolute certainty, and it's not going to have a huge trouble doing it. So they're still in first, and them and Crusaders will probably be the first to clear 150, assuming Firebirds gets a nerf. For groups, they're definitely the best. Rat runs are still going to dominate for XP, and rat runs have 3 Necros out of the 4 in the group. Also, Z-Nec can be used for other miscellaneous comps, like, for example, a triple support with the Firebirds. And also, Necromancers are the trash clearer as Bone Spear. And also, the Necromancers are one of the best RGKs with the Bone Spirit. So, Necros just dominate in group play all the time. For supports, they're moving up because Z-Monk moved down. We don't need heals anymore, so Necro just slides up. With the freezing of everything and the crit caps and the curses, they are extremely desired in almost any group situation. For casuals, the Necromancer is not a good choice. You are going to get the new Bones of Rathma set, but it is very unclear how good that's going to be. The Army of the Dead section of it, currently on the second round of the PTR, is essentially dead, and Bone Spirit isn't going to be the best build for you to farm everything up. And the other options, Bone Spear, you could transition into that, but that's not the easiest play style for a casual, and there really aren't many other options, and the Rat Necro is certainly not better than doing like God DH or the Whirlwind Barb. Casuals that don't play very often are not going to see the benefits from Necromancers that the Blasters are going to see. So if you're a casual, I would steer you away from trying the Necromancer unless you were dying to try the new set. Put all that together, and overall, they are dropping from first to second, but they are still going to be amazing, which, again, kind of surprised me since they're losing the most from losing the 4th cube slot. In Season 23, their best builds are Bone Spear, the new Bone Spirit with Rathma as an RGK, the Rat Mages, the Corpse Explosion, and the Z-Nec. And for Season 24, I'd like them to take a look at Trag'Oul set, which is terrible, and give it a big buff. Coming in at first is the Barbarian, which has a big smile on my face because the Barbarian is always my favorite class, but I don't put it in first because it's my favorite. I put it in first if it's actually the best, and the Barbarian just crushes at everything. For speed content, nothing has really changed. It's just the good old speedy Whirlwind Barb, but the fact that the follower emanates now and gives the Barb all the bells and whistles and the canes and all that stuff, all you do is hold right click and everything is going to die, and it's one of the best solo XP farmers in the game. For solo push, it's going to get better because the Barb didn't really get hurt as much by losing the 4th cube slot as some of the other classes. It's still got a spear and a stomp with its whirlwind build, and it's going to be able to pull everything together and nuke it all down, and the frenzy is on the rise as well. So it's going to do pretty well for solo push as some of the other classes get nerfed and it didn't get hurt as much from losing the 4th cube slot. For groups, they're second best. They're amazing. You can bring the support Barbarian to anything and everything's going to be very happy because they are the best support. They pull everything together, they stomp it, and they give you incredible buffs and survivability and crowd control immunity and movement speed. I mean, you just can't beat them. The only reason that they aren't first in groups is because the Necromancers, as we just discussed, are just going to be used everywhere. For casuals, they are the best because guess what you get? For the seasonal start, you get the Whirlwind set. Put it on, get the couple of pieces that you need, you'll be able to crush and farm everything, and you'll be able to push very high with that build. You'll never have to change out of it. Put out all that together, and overall, they're moving into first over the Necromancer. They lost the 4th cube slot, and so they lost their weapon multiplier, so now the Barbarian is sneaking in back into the top spot. For Season 23, their best builds are Whirlwind, the Support Barb, the Frenzy Barb, and you can even play Leapquake. And for Season 24, some of their builds absolutely suck. We could really use a buff to Immortal Kings and Raycors. So let's look at a summary of everything that we just discussed. I'll just pause here for a moment if you'd like to take a screenshot and see how everything moved around. And then last season, we showed the best builds by category. Here is that screenshot again. And we have the little arrows indicating if something moved up or down. And we, of course, introduced the new Firebirds Wizard again, assuming it's going to have a reasonable nerf. If it has no nerf, well, you can just essentially put it in first for everything. And if it gets absolutely destroyed, well, maybe it falls way out. But with something reasonable, it should end up about where we've placed it. And finally, one last slide to show you the best builds by class for each category. Notice that we added the Firebirds Wizard for every single thing for Wizard. And we added the Rathma Necro for the Bone Spirit solo push and for the Bone Spirit RGK. Well, that wraps it up, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. One more time, I want to thank the 500 plus people who came to my stream for about 6 hours and shared all their opinions and participated in all the polls as we went through line by line, number by number, and placed everything. And they shared their expertise and their experiences, all the way from very casual players who barely play to some of the top players in the world. So thank you for being there. What do you guys think about it? How badly do you think they're going to nerf Firebirds, or are they going to nerf it at all? If you guys want, I will make a follow-up video once we get the final patch notes to do one final super fast revisit of this to see if we got everything right. Anyway, I wish you guys the best for the end of Season 22, and I will see you in Season 23, and we will be having a leveling guide for you guys and Firebirds guide, of course, along with many other videos coming up. Thank you.